the HeyGears Reflex 2 3D resin printer. Let's give it a review. Biff, pow, zap, clunk, clunk, ouchie. Hey guys. People either seem to love or hate HeyGears and what they stand for. Something I learnt firsthand when I reviewed their Reflex RS printer. If you're not sure where that divide comes from, here's the quick version. HeyGears aim at making resin printing as easy and effortless as possible for the end user. That means no plate leveling, no resin profile guesswork, and technical support that's easier to understand than a teenager's intentions on a first date. But that convenience comes at a cost. That means slightly higher pricing than most competitors, and an ecosystem that relies on HeyGears' own resins and slicing software. And honestly, if people didn't want that almost hand-holding straightforwardness, frankly, HeyGears wouldn't be doing as well as they clearly are. So let's take a look at HeyGears' latest offering and try to make sense of the choices that managed to leave me unmoved, impressed, and completely confused, sometimes all at once. The HeyGears Reflex 2 is a mid-range resin printer with a suitably generous build volume, though it's hefty, probably due to its rock-solid die-cast unibody base. The power switch and socket are tucked neatly at the back, along with these ports for the separately sold pulsing release module, which genuinely impressed me when I tested it on the RS. On the right hand side, you'll find a USB port, an Ethernet port, and a micro SD card slot. The front is elegant and clean, dominated by a clear and responsive touchscreen. It's a comfortable size, and while specification wasn't listed at the time of this review, I believe it's around 5 inches. The Reflex 2 features a flip-top lid with generous tilt back, granting plenty of access to the interior. Inside, there's LED strips on both sides, so you won't need a miner's helmet when removing prints. There's nicely spaced dual linear rails. The ball screw is a C5 grade Z-axis with 2 micron precision, which is a nice step up from the more typical C7s that we see. But realistically, this is more about durability than print quality. The build plate is a hefty beast. Thick, solid metal with HeyGears' customary etched surface. It's a perforated design intended to reduce peel forces and improve print performance. If you've never come across a perforated plate before, from my experience, they work just fine. The resin tray is also metal and reassuringly heavy. There's a well-designed pouring spout in one corner, though I'll admit for me personally, a spout on the opposite corner would have made draining that little bit easier. However, that corner is dedicated to the resin auto-feed system. Removing and replacing the tray is simple enough, aided by these never fall out securing bolts. You can add resin to the tray in the time-honoured way, or you can make use of these spring-loaded nozzles that come as standard with HeyGears resins. The bottle sits upside down in this side opening where the nozzle connects with the tray's feed port, allowing resin to slowly fill the vat. It's not a fast system and it's not particularly clever, but it does work. It relies on a simple float valve inside the bottle, which in my case released about 800 millilitres before stopping. The Z-arm seems huge and supports a floating build platform system that allows for 0.15 degrees of deviation, automatically correcting gaps up to 240 microns for very easy, reliable auto-leveling. The plate clamps to the arm with a suitably massive lever. The user interface is very simple, with an excellent step-by-step guide that takes even the greenest newcomer through a painless and successful setup. After that, everything's intuitive and clear. On the subject of setup, you won't find any thumb drives included with this machine, and initial setup does require an internet connection. Fortunately, the Reflex 2 offers both Wi-Fi and Ethernet connectivity, and with the help of the slicer software, firmware updates are a very simple affair. There's only one option available when it comes to slicing software for the Reflex 2, and that's HeyGears' own Blueprint Studio. You'll need to download it before setting up the printer, but it's easy to find and, from my experience, refreshingly bug-free. I've already covered this slicer in previous videos, so I'll just say this: it works. It's a solid, dependable program that does everything you need it to do. If you'd rather use another slicer, that's fine. Just add supports elsewhere, export the file, then import it back into Blueprint. But honestly, for most users, Blueprint Studio is straightforward, reliable, and easy enough to learn. It slices quickly and can send files directly to the printer over your local network, or save them to a USB or microSD card. The only small drawback is, whilst the slicer's happy enough to send files over your network, you still have to manually start the print at the machine, something that probably won't change unless HeyGears eventually add an enclosure camera. Another great feature of this slicer, especially for those who hate trawling the internet for solutions, is a video help section. It was empty at the time of this review since the Reflex 2 is brand new, but if it ends up with a similar library to that found on the RS, it will be a truly great resource. The best part of this slicer, however, is that you'll never need to hunt for another resin profile. No more guessing settings. You are, of course, limited to using HeyGears' own resins, but they do offer a wide range, including several speciality types. The ideal profiles for each resin are already built into the slicer, along with optional layer heights for higher quality prints. And all this makes for a very easy printing life. The Reflex 2 doesn't include a heater as standard, which is a shame, but it does come with what HeyGears call a scraper. This plastic bar sits beside the resin tank and, at the start of each print, does a great job of thoroughly mixing the content. It's great fun to watch. The Reflex 2 Pro includes a metal heating version of this mixing bar, and you can buy it separately for the standard Reflex 2. Living in the UK with a chilly workshop most of the year round, for me this add-on is a must. It heats the resin quickly, maintains a consistent temperature, and works very well. Now you might be wondering why I haven't mentioned the screen yet. Well, quite frankly, HeyGears marketing has been a little vague on the topic. Anyone hoping for a 16K upgrade should probably prepare for some serious disappointment. HeyGears prioritise reliability and material performance over pixel count, and whilst it's not officially stated, the Reflex 2 likely uses a 6 or 7K panel, with an XY resolution of around 40 microns, and this is a clear downgrade from the 8K 29 micron Reflex RS. The Reflex 2 uses a 385nm amber screen. While cynics might call that a simple glass tint change, purists will know that amber screens favour uniform curing, durability and consistency, whereas higher K 405nm clear panels typically degrade about 3 times faster. HeyGears clearly aren't trying to win the pixel race. They're chasing consistent production grade output, 24/7 uptime, long life screens and zero surprises. Their new OptiZone light engine, with 161 mini LEDs and an AI calibration across 86,000 zones, sounds impressive, though you won't really see much of a difference on smaller prints. Now, if you're thinking that the Reflex 2 is an upgrade to the Reflex RS, you're really comparing apples and oranges. HeyGears actually divide their lineup into 2 families. During my review, I noticed that resin tends to pool on the flat top of the build plate and doesn't drain away particularly well. The RS came with a nice spatula to help with similar issues, but the Reflex 2 comes with a more typical yellow scraper which isn't as versatile. However, after I raised this with HeyGears, they confirmed that they've since released a printable drain hook to make drainage and cleanup easier and more efficient. When it came to the actual test prints, I was quietly impressed. I made use of HeyGears PAS10 Pale Purple resin and of course had absolutely no printing issues. In the hand, prints look clean and detailed. It's hard to imagine anyone being disappointed with these results. With my stupidly magnified pictures, the prints still look good. There's a little whitening on some of the edges, but that's this particular resin showing its personality more than any printer fault. So overall, the consistency of printing performance is here. So what do I think of the HeyGears Reflex 2? For what it is, it's very impressive. Yes, like many people, I would have liked to have seen what HeyGears could do with a 16K screen, but that's not what this printer is about. The Reflex 2 is designed to be a reliable, dependable workhorse that plods on all day, every day. And the technology and build quality to achieve this certainly seem to be there. If you're a hobbyist chasing the highest spec machine and bragging rights to the most cutting edge tech, this printer is not for you. But if you're a professional who wants to get the job done without fuss, then sit up and take notice, because the Reflex 2 could be just what you're after. The downside was known even before I started this review. Slightly higher prices than most competitors, and an ecosystem that relies on HeyGears' own resins and slicing software. That hasn't changed here, and why would it? That's not what HeyGears stand for. HeyGears printers are meant to be easy to use. Plug in a bottle of resin and press go. The Reflex 2 does this capably and has hardware that should see it last longer whilst remaining accurate and reliable. In short, the Reflex 2 isn't trying to impress you, it's trying to outlast you. It's the assistant you hoped you were hiring, the one you can depend on when the task needs to be done right. And that's it for this review, guys. I hope you found it useful. If you've any comments or questions, please leave them below, and as always, I'll try my best to get back to you. So take care, guys, and thanks for watching.